in addition to all of what's going on with Ed Henry, another of Fox News' biggest names is facing allegations as well. Michael J. Williman, an attorney who represents the women along with veteran sexual misconduct litigator Doug Wigdor, told Salon that Fox News had been informed of the second set of allegations from a row. Her allegations against Carlson on July 9, 4 days before the host announced that he would be taking a pre-planned vacation. He is now back from this vacation. He's done trout fishing. Many people, I think, rightfully assumed that that vacation was as a result of us finding out that his head writer was as vicious a racist as you can imagine. But it might be that you had the racism and the allegations of sexual harassment. I don't know. What do you think, Adrian?
I definitely think it's probably a culmination of the two. I think it's possibly less the racism and more the sexual harassment, in part because we have rape allegations in this one. And the interesting thing is that the two attorneys, Williman and Wigdor, were my attorneys when I sued ESPN for sexual harassment.
Really?
And yes, so I know them well. And also Wigdor had been the head attorney in suing Fox News a few years ago when he obtained a settlement for, I think, about 20 women there. And so that's just to say Wigdor and co, they know sexual harassment very well, and they also know Fox News very well. So I think Fox is a little bit scared, but you know what? I think that they're probably not necessarily as scared of the lawsuit as they are of a potential another shareholder lawsuit, because, you know, shareholders could end up mandating, hey, you need to clean out your board, you need to do all sorts of things, because the shareholders were not happy last time.
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder, like, having all of this come at the same time, and in particular, this second set of allegations that is against both Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity. So those the two biggest names. Like, Fox seems like they sort of came back from the Bill O'Reilly and Ailes and all of that stuff. They moved past it. We let them do that somehow. But I wonder, a second round of that, is it possible that that will be more significant in forcing some sort of major change to their corporate culture and the sorts of voices that they feature front and center, or is that just wishful thinking?
You know what? Fox had the opportunity because, as these women allege, they knew about these allegations against all of these men back in 2017 when they had to do this full internal investigation. And so everybody knew, and they've known forever, which is always how it works when it comes to workplace sexual harassment. It's just Fox opted not to do anything about it because, you know, seldom do these companies do anything about it until we as members of the public find out about it. And so now Fox is in a position where it's decided to fight, in part because it doesn't really have that many big names left. You know, because since they lost so many already to sexual harassment. So it's going to try to hold on to them for just a little bit longer while it continues to make money off of them. But then also, who knows how long Carlson could end up staying at the network if they don't settle this lawsuit and they end up having to go through depositions, a trial, and whatnot.
Yeah. And I know that obviously we're focusing on the most recent news, which is the sexual harassment allegations, which maybe at some point more specifics will come out. This is the extent of the knowledge that I have about it right now. But again, maybe I'm being naive. I don't know, Adrian, but last 2 Fridays ago, we found out that his head writer had been posting for literally years the most explicitly racist things that one can or should be able to imagine. Wrote the scripts that he read. That's the show. Tucker Carlson doesn't do opining and things like that. He reads carefully constructed scripts designed to advance a particular agenda. Longtime viewers know what that agenda is. And so they fired the guy, and he went trout fishing for a few days, and now he's back. And he addressed it for 1 minute and 12 seconds, I think. It said it had nothing to do with the show, didn't affect the show in any way. That seems unacceptable to me, but he's just moving on. What do you think? Is there any chance of, like, he's not going to get fired, right? They would never do that.
Oh, no, God, no. I think a lot of people don't realize how insidious sexism is as compared to racism, because our society will ban you and treat you horribly if you're a racist. You know, it's generally why white people freak out when they're called a racist, as opposed to, you know, hey, maybe I should look at my behavior and see what happens. But, you know, so our society doesn't really handle that very well. But when it comes to sexism, yeah, honestly, it's kind of part of our doing business. And it's okay that it be explicit. And I think that's just very much a difference between racism and sexism. So I think he
Yeah.
actually had to go away because of the racism.
Yeah.
But the sexism, it's like, yeah, this is kind of what we do. And it's also what his followers kind of enjoy.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe. Best case scenario when Laura Ingraham or Tucker Carlson has said something on the edge of too racist even for Fox, some sponsors will leave. And then maybe creep back a couple months ago, or maybe they're gone forever. Fox News doesn't seem to care because it's not like they have Tucker Carlson on just for the ad revenue he brings in. But it's like, how can we have an environment where they wouldn't fire him for having a racist around or for having sexually harassed someone, because like his base if he was to just start using racial slurs on air, a significant portion of his base would love him more as a result of that. They want to treat women in this incredibly misogynistic way. They pine for a time where that was the default, like explicit default, with no challenge, no chance of any justice or anything like that. And so he gets caught, he gives his little apology for a minute, not even an apology, he literally never said sorry, and in fact made the racist writer out to be the victim in all of this. And that's the biggest, his show's the biggest. In all of political news, his show's the big one. And the standards that he's held to are buried deep below ground.
Oh, absolutely. And also with November coming up, they can't. Yeah, right. Trump would be all over that. They need someone to continue to peddle their, dog whistles and their propaganda. And especially, this anti-woman push, it's been getting a lot heavier and a lot more forceful. And so this is really par for course. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if Tuck got a pat on the back.
Maybe. Yeah. They're gonna carefully do that behind the scenes, I would imagine. But yeah.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.